Welcome to Channel Japan. I'm Maki Arai.
And I'm Makiko Tsuda.
Every week we bring you the freshest information out of Japan right here from our studio in Tokyo.
From the economy, culture and even foods, if you want to find out what's happening in Japan right now, this is where you'll find it.
The Project Japan.
First up is Project Japan. So Utsuda-san, there was a lot of media coverage in mid-May when, for the first time in 5 years, the Nikkei stock average topped 15,000 points on the Tokyo Stock Exchange.
Yes, it was really big news, especially because with the strong yen and deflation, the Japanese stock market had been depressed for a very long time. But since the Abe government took office, the yen has grown weaker and the economy is showing signs of recovery. Now, the closing price of the Nikkei rose by approximately 70% during the 6th month through May.
So today's theme is becoming the world's leading exchange.
Yes, so we'll be talking about financial instrument exchanges today. And with the advancement of internet technology, transactions can be made online, which makes geographic differences. It doesn't mean anything anymore. And also the competition between exchanges is intensifying. Plus, the markets of emerging economies are also getting stronger. So we went to find out what the Tokyo Stock Exchange is doing to attract new investors. Take a look.
It's a Saturday and the stock market is closed. But people are arriving to attend a seminar for private investors, jointly organised by securities firms and the Tokyo Stock Exchange. The venue is almost full. The seminar was so popular that there were 3 times more applicants than the 180-seat venue could hold.
エネルギーへの投資というのは実は非常に面白いものになります。
The seminar was about shale gas trends. A participant had this to say.
前損したのも少し戻ってきて、なんとなくこれも儲かるかなという気になってくるんじゃないですか。
Tokyo Stock Exchange staff say the atmosphere at these seminars has been changing recently.
まず質問の数が多いですね。今まで開催するセミナーと比べてやはり皆さん積極的により良い情報を集めてるんだなと。
Offer beneficial information and make people interested in investment. The Tokyo Stock Exchange aims to revitalize the markets, and moves such as these to increase the number and quality of investors have become even more important. Private investors aren't the only ones increasingly interested in the stock market following the rapid recovery of share prices. One auditing firm held a seminar entitled Going Public. Many representatives of firms thinking of listing on the stock exchange attended.
はい、初めてです。どの程度の会社の規模にすればこういうふうになれるのかとかね。そういうのは関心ありますね。
The new listings department of the Tokyo Stock Exchange is giving a talk. Its job is to promote listing to companies that are interested. The seminar is held every year. Organisers feel a change here as well.
上場したらどんないいことがあるんだという問いかけ議論からクライアント様とお話が始まっていたんですが、昨今の特徴としましてはとにかく上場するということを経営者がお決めになり、じゃあ上場の近道はどういう方法なんだ、うちにとって足りないのは何なんだという具体論から話がスタートしているところはこれまでと全然熱気が違うところですね。
In order to increase new listings, on this day Tokyo Stock Exchange representatives visited the president of a venture firm who wants to list but cannot yet decide.
どういう他社さんと一線を画しているのってたくさんあるんで。
そうですね。我々が特に特化しているのは中国語ゼロがゼロベースの人を中級まで最短で育成する。でそこに特化してます。
Wake supplies Chinese e-learning software.
銀行
The company's software is used at over 400 firms, but it lacks capital to expand further. It's considering listing on the stock exchange to procure more funds.
業績を見ながら、適格な時期にですね IPO したいなと思ってるんですけれども、
昔は上場というと大きな会社が最後のゴールみたいな形でですねとらわれていたところがありますが、創業間もないような会社がですね自分のゴールをこう目指しながら、上場はその、結構手前の第一歩、これを礎にさらなる事業発展をしていくっていうケースがだいぶ出てきて、だいぶこう環境は温まってきているかな。
まあ、予想以上に、硬くて手がしびれましたですね、はい、自社の名前が回ってるっていうのは非常に感慨深いものがありますですね、はい。
The bell was rung by the president of Aukfan, a company that runs a price comparison site for auctions. Having opened only 6 years ago, it's now listed on the Mothers section of the Tokyo Stock Exchange. It provides users with information on the trading prices of shopping sites and online auctions through PCs and smartphones.
一番欲しかったのはやはり、信用力ですかね。取引する、お客様からするとですね、信用力がないと。
The company has gained the trust of business partners since listing. Working with a Tokyo Stock Exchange representative helped it reach this point.
一緒にですね、この上場プロジェクトを、成し遂げていただいた、仲間というかですね、本当にこうある種と戦友のようなですね、感じの印象を持っております。
こちらの一角が上場推進部ですね。はい。
The department is a sales team that offers support and information to companies interested in listing. Its aim is to increase the number of listed companies, and each employee is responsible for 50 to 100 firms. If any of these indicate that they want to list, a representative will visit. Here is one company that decided to list as a result.
皆さんのご協力をいただいて大きく羽ばたくためにこのスケジュール通り上場したいと思いますので、何卒ご協力のほどよろしくお願いいたします。
Tokyo Board Industries has decided to list on the stock exchange and begun preparations.
こういったものをいかにクリーニングして使えるようにするかっていうのが。
This recycle factory makes building materials by reusing scraps of wood. Its reason for listing is not only to procure funds. Their biggest reason lies elsewhere, says the president.
人材の育成も結構大変でですね、やっぱそれなりの人材を確保したい。将来の我々に向けて、うちのグループ会社の経営者になるような社員が欲しかったですね。
Their eyes firmly on the future, the company decided to list in order to secure personnel. Preparations went ahead together with the Tokyo Stock Exchange.
一緒に船に一緒にいるのが証券会社さんで、陸からそっちじゃないよこっちだよって言っていただけるのが東証さんというような感じはしますけど、
正しい方向に会社を導いていただくような役割を担っていただくために我々いるのかなという気がしています。
Utsuda-san, it seems that these seminars for private investors are becoming very popular.
Yes, they are. We can see that in data as well. It shows that recently the percentage of investment by individual investors is growing. And I have a chart over here. So you can see in April of 2012 last year, 70% of investment into the Japanese market were from overseas, and while 20% or less than 20% were by individual investors, domestic investors that is. But now this number has increased, and by April this year, the number of domestic individual investors has grown to 30%.
That's quite a change over just a year.
It is. And it's not just investors, it's also unlisted companies are also eyeing the stock market. And we have a graph over here again. It shows the number of companies that have been listed in Japan. And as you can see, the year 2000 was the peak, and the current numbers over here are about 1/4 of what it used to be. But still, during the last several years, the number has been growing. And in 2012, 48 companies were listed.
Why is it important to a stock exchange that companies get listed?
Well, it's important because the listing of a company means new stocks to be traded, and obviously exchanges want to provide the market with new attractive products.
And there's increased competition with exchanges in other countries, and we saw in the video that the Japanese exchanges are taking various measures. Are there other movements related to this?
Yes, the exchanges of the two largest cities in Japan, namely the Tokyo Stock Exchange and the Osaka Securities Exchange, have merged this January. And they are now a Japan Exchange Group, and Tokyo will mainly deal with the spot trading while Osaka will deal with derivative products.
So perhaps with this merger they have improved their competing power in the world.
You could say that, but then again, mergers aren't just happening in Japan, they're happening all over the world. And we have a little chart here. In 2007, there was a merger between the NYSE group that runs the New York Stock Exchange and the Euronext, a group of stock exchanges based in Paris and other European locations. And also London Metal Exchange was bought and acquired by Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing last year. So mergers are happening worldwide without borders.
I see. So what was gained by the merger of the Tokyo Stock Exchange and the Osaka Securities Exchange?
Well, there are several advantages. We've put together a list here. By merging, they've integrated their system, diversified their listed goods, and there are no dual listings anymore. And also unifying their deposit money is one advantage. And overall, over $82 million has happened in cost cuts. So there are many advantages. So let's take a closer look at the merger and TSE's next generation trading system.
東証と大証の経営統合により、この元旦に日本取引所グループ JPX として新たなスタートを切りました。アジアナンバーワンの市場を目指してまいります。
The Japan Exchange Group, or JPX, is Japan's largest stock exchange in which 3,400 companies are listed, from top firms representing Japan to newly established ones. It's made up of the East and West's biggest markets, the Tokyo Stock Exchange and Osaka Securities Exchange. Let's take a look at their roles following the merger. From this July, the Tokyo Stock Exchange in Tokyo's Nihonbashi will become a market specializing in the buying and selling of spot trading stocks, such as JASDAQ, Mothers, and the first and second section markets.
マーケットを一つにまとめることによって参加者の方により多くの利便性を感じていただこうというのがまさにこの経営統合の狙いですので。
From March 2014, all derivatives trading will be done at Osaka Securities Exchange.
利便性とか機能性とか信頼性のある市場運営をしていくというふうな強い気持ちでいます。
The biggest feature of Osaka Securities Exchange has been the derivatives trading, which continues even after trading on the cash market ends. Derivatives trading on the Nikkei stock average, among others, can be done from 4:30 p.m. to 3 a.m. the following morning. Overnight trading has increased sharply since the start of this year, marking a record high in April. In response to moves abroad, Osaka Securities Exchange aims to make buying and selling possible for 24 hours a day.
やっぱり株式市場が活性化する。で、それによってリスクマネーがいろんな企業に流れるようになると。で、企業はそれを使ってどんどんビジネスを拡大していくと。そういう流れですから、やっぱりそういう経済の発展の原動力になっているのがこの株式市場ということだと思います。
The key to revitalizing the Japanese markets is whether they will succeed in the rapidly expanding Asian market. CEO Atsushi Saito is aiming to become number one in Asia.
アジアの企業に投資されたり、あるいはその日本から進出している企業のアジアでのファイナンスに使われるとか、そういうスキームを作っていかなきゃいけないと思います。
The merger is a huge moment for Japan's exchanges. We visited the Tokyo Stock Exchange, which houses one symbol of the 135-year-old establishment. The 17-meter-high market center is a space where it's possible to view trading and to look at the electronic boards that display stock market trends in real time. But what was it like before? With unique hand signals, instructions were given there on the buying and selling of stocks. Many securities firm employees came together, trading amidst plenty of noise. However, as time passed, speed and accuracy became even more necessary, and in 1985, a computerized buying and selling system was adopted. By 2010, the Arrowhead, with one of the world's highest processing ability, was brought in order to respond to the rapid increase in the number of transactions and smaller orders. Buying and selling became possible at a speed of 1,000th of a second, and the era of high-speed trading began. How fast is 1,000th of a second? This is a simulation of buying and selling. Under the previous system, processing 500 orders took 23 seconds. But with the Arrowhead, it takes a mere 0.038 seconds. The Arrowhead can process 68 million orders per day, but the Japan Exchange Group is further enhancing its performance and is due to adopt the next generation buying and selling system, which will be 2 times faster than it is now. The stock market is becoming faster. And one thing has watched over the passing of time.
これが東証の上場の鐘です。取引の開始の合図を告げる鐘ということで実際に使われた鐘です。かなり実は年代物で戦前からこちらの鐘あるんですよ。
Well, I have seen that bell often on the news, but I didn't know it was over 80 years old.
It has history, doesn't it? But these days the bell isn't used to signal the beginning of trade anymore, and it's used when there's a ceremony held by newly listed companies, or the first business day of the year and other special occasions.
Well, it must be touching to hear the ring of a bell with 80 years of history for companies that are newly listed.
I would assume so. Some CEOs I hear have dreams to get listed, and they visualize the bell being rung to motivate themselves.
Oh, that's nice. And about Arrowhead, the 1 millisecond order response time is simply amazing.
It is, isn't it? I quite agree. But then again, it is becoming a standard feature in overseas markets, and high-frequency trading, or HFT as it's called, it has become quite popular. Now, what HFT is it's the use of computers to transact large numbers of orders at very fast speeds. And in overseas markets, about half of all exchanges come from HFT orders. And in the case of TSE, it's about 30 to 40%, but the TSE hopes to attract even more HFT orders.
And you mentioned that there are mergers all around the world, but with all the mergers, where does Japan's exchange stand?
Yes, because of the merger, market capitalization of the listed companies put together has become third in the world. But on the other hand, the transaction value of derivatives is still at 17th place. So for Japan Exchange Group to win the competition with exchanges in other countries, strengthening derivative products that have a high gain is indispensable, and it plans to create a management structure that allows for trading 24 hours a day in Osaka, and also by doing so they hope to increase their transaction value.
So even with that, isn't it extremely difficult to become number one in the world?
Yes, you could say that. And one weakness in Japan is its finance industry has a language weakness. Things are done in Japanese. So securing and hiring finance professionals who speak English will perhaps stimulate Japan's investment activity in the Asian market.
Well, that's it for Project Japan. After the break, we'll be showing you a documentary of a scientist who is developing a new and innovative vaccine against a new strain of the influenza virus. Stay tuned.
My parents work at a really great company, which makes cool computers and LCD TVs. Not only that, they build elevators for skyscrapers and zooming fast bullet trains. My mom designs the company's CT scan systems, which spot diseases. My dad develops power generation systems so people will have plenty of electricity. The company where my parents work is Toshiba.
Has anybody finished doing their pictures?
I have.
All around the world, Toshiba technology is hard at work, bringing smarter, faster, more sustainable development to life.
When I grow up, I want to work for people.
For a growing future, Toshiba.
ยังจำได้หรือเปล่านะเรื่องต่างๆที่เกิดขึ้นตอนวาดรูปนี้แต่ถ้ารถยนต์ในฝันของฉันมีจริงฉันคงจะมีความสุขมากเลย
How do we build sustainability into our relationship with Mother Earth? That's Kaiteki, Mitsubishi Chemical Holdings.
Sasuke, a new type of sports entertainment program conquering the world.
It's about human achievement and people's passions, and I think that relates to almost everybody.
From Japan to the world, Ninja Warrior, Tokyo Broadcasting System.
You're watching Channel Japan. In our next segment, we'll introduce you to some of our popular documentary programs. Today, it's from Japanese Dream by TBS. So, Utsuda-san, what are we showing today?
Yes, today's topic is avian influenza, or more commonly known as bird flu. And as you can tell from its name, it's a type of influenza usually found in birds and is mainly contracted within the avian species, but currently it's one of the largest threats to the poultry industry around the world.
Yes. And hasn't the infection been spreading, in some cases being transmitted from birds to humans?
Yes, there have been. Some of the avian flu strains are extremely toxic, and although very rare, there have been reports of human-to-human transmissions as well. And over 30 deaths have been reported in China this year.
Mm-hmm. And so far, the Chinese government has said there's no confirmed evidence of sustained human-to-human transmission, but there are still concerns, aren't there?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Now, if the avian flu virus mutates and adapts to human hosts, then the virus could become highly contagious and transmitted among humans, so there definitely is a possibility of a worldwide pandemic with this flu.
Mm-hmm. So today we show you a researcher who is trying to develop an innovative vaccine to protect humans from the avian influenza virus. Take a look.
In the early 20th century, a pandemic known as the Spanish flu is said to have taken 40 million lives. The then inexplicable infectious disease was later proven to be influenza by a Japanese scientist. World-renowned virologist Kuniaki Nerome.
世界の人々の命を救うことが学者の役割ですから。
Now in his 70s, Nerome still works in vaccine development. His enemy? A new strain of the influenza virus, lurking inside birds. It's a monstrous virus with a toxicity that exceeds the Spanish flu. Approximately 60% of infections result in death. In order to protect and save people from viral disease, Nerome stands up and fights for the human race.
男は大義を持って喧嘩しなくちゃいけないんです。人体実験ですよ。
An uncompromising and righteous scientist, we follow Nerome and his research.
I have a dream.
Nago City, Okinawa. This is Nerome's Research Institute. A veteran virologist, Nerome still spends entire days in his lab researching. He rushes to develop a vaccine to counter a certain virus.
新型ワクチン、インフルエンザワクチン対策に機敏に立ち向かえる武器を人類は手にしておかないとウイルスの戦争に負けてしまいます。
His enemy is the avian influenza, commonly known as the bird flu. His weapon of choice against the deadly virus is a vaccine. But there are complications. After the outbreak of a new strain, it takes about 6 months to create a vaccine for that strain. But viruses mutate at enormous speed, meaning there is a large possibility vaccines cannot be ready in time. How can one create an effective vaccine quickly? This is the question virologists around the world are tackling. For his new and cutting-edge vaccine development, Nerome visits Bogor, Indonesia. Nerome chose Indonesia because of the deadly virus that has shocked the world. In Indonesia, there have been frequent outbreaks among birds of this new strain of the avian influenza virus. This virus has also infected humans, resulting in about 160 deaths. Here, Nerome is experimenting with an innovative vaccine production method. In this building, a key component for his experiment is being grown.
This is the place for... すごいね。
The key component is the silkworm.
ワクチン産業にとってもってこいの場所ですね。
Nerome focused on the number of eggs a silkworm lays. One silkworm can lay up to about 300 eggs. Also, silkworms can be cultured in small spaces. While only a few doses of vaccine can be made from one chicken egg, Nerome says one silkworm could create enough for several hundred people.
先生、結構広いですね。
広いですね。
Local researchers have high hopes for this experiment.
全部そうだよ、桑抜き。
A vast mulberry field. This is the food for silkworms.
日本の桑抜きの3倍ぐらい大きさありますから、これを大量生産するのに蚕適してるわけね。
If this silkworm vaccine production method succeeds, not only can he save lives in Japan and Indonesia, but also the lives of people around the world who currently cannot afford vaccines. After World War II, Okinawa was under US administration. Important pieces of land were seized by the military, and so the elementary school Nerome attended was built on a marsh. In order to create a playground, students carried bracken fern from the mountains every day to cover the marsh. Nerome still remembers this as if it were only yesterday.
畜生と思ったんですよ。ただそういう思いというのは骨の脊髄まで染みついているんですよ。
In 1993, an international conference on virology was held in Paris. The US had just developed a live vaccine, and a proposal was made. The US claimed Japan was falling behind on vaccination policy, and live vaccines should be introduced.
人体実験ですよ。誰も反対しない。
These newly developed live vaccines potentially had dangerous side effects and were not approved in the United States. Nerome shook in anger. While other Japanese researchers sat in silence, Nerome stood up against the US alone.
日本人はアメリカが君たちに教えるほど文化を超えてるわけじゃなくて、むしろアメリカと同等の科学成果と文化を持っているんだと。だから君たちに教えるつもり毛頭ない。
Nerome did not back down. He stopped live vaccines from entering Japan.
私の後ろには日本の日の丸がありますし、私の家族がいますし、子供たちもいます。やる時には1対500名でも喧嘩しなくちゃいけないんです。
Nerome, who fought for his country, his family and his children, believes that people grow stronger when they have something, someone to protect. Nerome is currently developing new and innovative influenza vaccines. Using silkworms, which grow relatively quickly, he aims to swiftly create safe and effective vaccines. A company that once flourished in silkworm breeding cooperates with Nerome. The president of this company, Seito, anticipates a renewed interest in the silkworm industry. How is this new vaccine created? First, a silkworm egg is injected with an altered DNA of the virus. Once hatched, the larva then possesses the DNA necessary to create a vaccine. The silkworms are selected and cultivated with care. These silkworms then lay about 300 eggs. The larvae hatched from these eggs shows a change.
この蚕にそのものに遺伝子を導入してますので、代々子孫に使われる。
What follows is surprising. This new generation of silkworms spins silk containing an effective influenza vaccine component. These silk cocoons can be dissolved in water to remove most impurities, one of the reasons for side effects, without hurting the vaccine component. According to Nerome's calculations, one silkworm can create several hundred people's worth of influenza vaccine. If this silk cocoon vaccine reaches practical use, it can shorten production time from 6 months to just 2 months. A safe, effective, inexpensive vaccine made from silkworms to save people around the world. Nerome's dream is a step closer to reality.
去年最初にチャレンジしたやつは、順調に今繭を作っております。1年前のその夢のようなことがもう現実的にこう進んでまいりまして、本当毎日ワクワクする思いですけど、これを実りあるものにしたいと思いますので、よろしく今後ともお願いいたします。
Families with children look forward to new vaccine development.
いざっていう時に効かないとやはり、ね、高いお金出して打つわけですから意味がないなって思っちゃいますけど、ぜひ安全で効くワクチンを早く開発していただいて世に普及していただいたらなっていうふうに思います。お待ちしてますって感じです。
開発されたらいいよね、早くね。祈ります、早く開発されることを。
素晴らしい学者料理に尽きるというところですね。このワクチンに期待をしている、国民の皆さんに安心してどうぞ新しいワクチンが出るまで待っていてほしいと思います。
So many people must be awaiting the practical use of this vaccine production method. So what are the prospects?
Yes, well, Dr. Nerome hopes the method will reach practical use, first in Indonesia, where there's been an outbreak of bird flu.
When will they be practical?
Well, the doctor claims to be aiming for next year in 2014, and he also says production cost will probably be a tenth of traditional methods.
And yes, I'm sure many people are looking forward to it. But watching this video, I really felt Dr. Nerome's strong desire to save lives.
You could certainly say that. In his own words, Dr. Nerome wants to fundamentally change vaccine production methods and save humanity. He wants to be able to develop large quantities of safe vaccines quickly, and he does use silkworms, but he also uses an innovative method as a safety measure.
So how does he do this?
Well, up until now, the actual virus was injected and grown in cell cultures to create a vaccine, but this was dangerous because the researchers were using actual viruses. But Dr. Nerome is developing a way to genetically engineer the DNA of the virus, and so that it would be harmless to humans.
So I really hope this vaccine production method can be utilized to create a vaccine for the highly toxic, deadly strain of the bird flu in China as well.
I hope so too.
Well, after the break, we'll be showing you an episode from a popular economics program, Gatsuri Monday. Don't go away.
Traditional,
Consistent.
precise,
Speedy.
professional, innovative,
Polite. Quality from Japan. The best of business in Asia. SMBC. Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation.
Where we see nothing, there could be anything. Panasonic is putting the endless energy of the sun to work. Generating, storing, and managing energy efficiently. Helping power our daily lives.
A better life, a better world. Panasonic.
The view is almost like peering down on the star-filled night sky at your feet. It's the city at night seen from a height of 450 meters. Make unforgettable memories. City lights stretching for as far as the eye can see. Find it at Tokyo Skytree.
Hey, look at this. They're building a huge steel plant with Kobelco technology.
Kobelco? Never heard of it.
It's Japanese. They can make iron with incredible speed. What once took 8 hours can be done in just 10 minutes.
Wow, the Japanese are incredible. The country of karate.
Ha! 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 Karate has nothing to do with it.
True.
The talk of the world. Kobelco. Asia, the engine of the global economy. Japan, a regional powerhouse. And now, direct from Japan, economic news with a global impact. In Chinese and English, delivered by Nikkei. Read the future, lead the economy. Nikkei, Japan's leading media for business.
You're watching Channel Japan. Next, we'll show you an episode from a popular Japanese economics program. Today, it's from Gatsuri Monday by TBS. In today's episode, we introduce you to food processing machinery, or machines that can skin and cut vegetables and fruits for you.
Yes, so if you can take a look over here. It's a machine, and when you set a cabbage in the machine, it shreds the cabbage into fine strips.
That is fast.
Isn't it? And the strips are really fine too. And in Japan, shredded cabbage is often used as a garnish for deep-fried foods, and factories making Japanese lunchboxes that are sold in convenience stores and restaurants often use shredded cabbage to accompany their deep-fried side dishes, and these machines are used in such industries.
I see. But the speed and the precision are just amazing.
Aren't they? And I have another machine to show you. This can peel the skin off an apple.
With a second.
Several seconds, yes.
It's fast, but it is also precise.
Isn't it?
It's so much better than I do it myself.
I totally agree. So obviously these machines cut faster and peel much faster than a person can cut, and they cut evenly every time as well. Yes. So they help reduce labor costs, and also even where machines are already being used, the technology has evolved so that some can work faster or some can work at a better quality. There are some cases where machines can now do the same job in half the time they used to take.
So today we take a look into such food processing machinery. Take a look.
Food processing machines are unsung heroes who prepare ingredients by peeling, chopping, and grating them. Today, we'll be showing a container with a torrent of water running through it, a strange giant box resembling a refrigerator, and other machines. First, we visit Dreamax in Saitama Prefecture, close to Tokyo. What type of food processing occurs here? Hideo Matsumoto is the chairman.
いちごのヘタ取りのテストです。いちごのヘタを自動で取るという機械です。
The machine is hulling away, though missing a couple.
こういうことも。
The MSHT is capable of hulling approximately 4,000 strawberries per hour for use in cakes and such. The company specializes in machines that cut various ingredients for cooking. For example, the M300D slices cucumbers diagonally for use as pickles. It costs $5,900. The MRC40 instantly slices cabbage heads into squares, perfect for stir fries. It costs $9,000. Their product lineup seems highly specialized. Is it profitable?
随分儲かってます。はい。お客の要望に合わせて作ってるということですね。
ちなみにこれどういうところから発注が来てる？
ですね、山崎パンですね。
山崎パンからこれ来たんですか？
そうです、そうです。
When food processing companies request the development of specific machines, sales to the client are guaranteed. Dreamax has a slightly different business model, however.
同業者ありますよね。富士屋さんとかなんか、そういうところには売れています。
After developing machines by request, the company can sell them to the client's competitors. How is this possible?
うちはそういう形、開発費をいただいてやるということは全くありません。
By not engaging in the standard practice of billing development fees to clients, Dreamax gains sole right to the finished product that it can then sell to anyone. For 5 decades, since the company's founding in 1960, Matsumoto has been developing best-selling food processing machines. For example, here's the multi-cutter DX70.
これをスイッチ入れますね。こうやって。どうぞ、見ての試し。刺身のつまですね。
Its selling point is the lightning-fast processing time of 5 seconds. Super slow-motion footage shows what happens in those 5 seconds. The slices are only 0.7 millimeters thick. At $800, there are constant orders from supermarket delis. Among Matsumoto's numerous bestsellers, here is his personal favorite. the Multi-Slicer DX100. It specializes in the julienne processing of cabbages and other vegetables. Matsumoto says it stands apart from other such slicers.
甘さがあってシャキシャキします。
The secret is this circular blade.
こういう風に切りていくわけです。引き切りを拡大した状態。
Inside is a rotating epicyclic circular blade, one of DreamAx's patented technologies. The previous slicer used a top-down push-cut motion, which crushed the cabbage and resulted in jagged edges. In contrast, this circular blade allows a pull-cut motion because the blade moves with the base. This prevents the blade from damaging the fibers and results in sharp cuts that enhance crispness. While the process takes 10 minutes per cabbage by hand, the machine only takes 40 seconds. It costs $1,200. It is primarily sold to eateries specializing in fried pork cutlets, where julienne cabbage is the staple garnish. Next, we visit Kumamoto Prefecture in southwest Japan. There is a machine that became a savior to the pickling industry.
汚いものがみんな流れて、はい、異物をみんな取ってくれるんですよ。
よー考えてくださったって感謝しております。
We went to Sion, the developer.
はい、バッチリマンデーです。あ、どうも。
Masatoshi Ino, Sion's chairman, came out to greet us. He showed us the machine right away.
これなんですね。はい。これが皮という機械ですね。皮になってるんですね。皮に。
The name for the dirt removal machine was chosen because the flow resembles the character kawa, or river in Japanese. By recreating a turbulent river current, the machine washes vegetables clean of any dirt. He gave us a demonstration using muddy vegetables. Why is it being washed by hand? Surprisingly, kawa isn't an automated vegetable washing machine. It helps hand wash them instead. Dirt is a major headache for the pickling industry. Running water is not very effective at removing dirt from leafy vegetables. Previously, workers scrubbed vegetables by hand in water-filled buckets. However, the loosened dirt would often resettle on the vegetables. This machine's approach is to create a strong current and generate turbulence by introducing a second current from below. The turbulence is very effective in removing dirt from vegetables. The outflow is passed through a filtration system and pumped back to power the current. Because the water is reused, it cuts water use costs by more than 70%. 150 units have been sold to the tune of $2.4 million. 3 years after the first model, Ino's son became the company president and developed a new and improved model.
名前がですね、やっぱり皮ですよね。できれば横文字を使いたかったですね。
He named the new model Spiral in English. It overcame the first model's limitations by using a rotating barrel with protrusions that automatically push vegetables forward, which rendered hand washing unnecessary. This unit has proved popular outside of the pickling industry for use with meat, fish and fruit, with combined sales of $590 million. Our next stop is FG Corporation, located in Gifu Prefecture, north of Nagoya City. Fukuo Maijima is FG's executive director.
世の中にはちょっとない機械だと思います。
One of a kind? What food processing task does it handle?
新しい真空乾燥機です。その名もドライアライブと申します。ドライアライブ。はい。
A vacuum dehydrator. What's inside? Out comes dried pineapple.
Freeze dry 以外では全く新しい方法になります。
Freeze drying is a well-known method for preserving foods to be kept at room temperature for long periods of time. Freeze-dried foods can be reconstituted by hot or cold water, so the method is commonly applied to soup products, such as instant noodles and miso soup. Food is flash frozen at -30 degrees Celsius, which eliminates the water. The rapid freezing process has the downside of potentially damaging the food's cellular structure. This machine uses technology that overcomes that risk. In the new method, foods are placed in a chamber at temperatures of 40 to 50 degrees Celsius while a vacuum is created. This dehydrates foods without damaging any cells, so they do not lose their flavor and texture. For what food type has this technology shown the most promise?
一番メインで作るのは、野菜で水戻しをするとですね、前の状態にほとんど復元をすると。
This technology has succeeded in dehydrating fresh vegetables, a long-time challenge of the industry.
シャキシャキ感の戻ります。戻ります。それがこの乾燥法の特徴です。
After being rehydrated, the vegetables regain their fresh crunch.
Raw vegetables don't last long, but dry vegetables have a much longer shelf life, so it's very convenient, isn't it?
Yes, it should be. And these dried vegetables can last up to 5 years, and currently they're being stored for times of disaster.
In Japan, canned foods and hard biscuits that come in cans, like ship biscuits, are common emergency foods, but dried vegetables were also being stored too.
Yes, and there's good reason for that, because when disaster strikes and people live in evacuation shelters for a long time, it's extremely difficult to maintain a healthy diet, and vitamin deficiency from lack of vegetables can result in sleep loss or loss of appetite and tiredness.
Yes, certainly.
And so after the mid-Niigata prefecture earthquake in 2007, more people suffered from sleep loss and changes in their health conditions after day 4. And so meals with more vegetables were supplied, and there are reports that say fewer people suffered from health issues after that.
Yes, I understand. Dry vegetables can be eaten even without water and can be stored for a long period of time, so these must come in handy in emergent situations.
I should imagine so. But then again, it's not just the disaster situations, but manufacturing dried vegetables actually benefit the producers as well. Some vegetables get thrown out, such as those that aren't of marketable quality, and also when there are abundant crops, vegetables are discarded so that the oversupply doesn't affect the prices and cause a decline. And by using these vegetables for drying instead of throwing them away, growers can profit.
That must be great news for the growers.
Yes, I definitely agree. Now, there are many food processing machines active in Japan, and other than the ones we showed today, so I have to show you some pictures. What do you think this is?
It's a robot molding the rice for sushi.
Yes, you're right. It is a sushi robot, and it was first developed in Japan in 1981, and they're installed mainly in revolving sushi restaurants within the country.
So which kinds of machines are popular in Asia?
Well, mainly bread-making robots and machines to make sweets, and also machines to make noodles are high in demand.
Well, I see the machines are very popular and very advanced, but can they actually beat the human hand? Because I prefer to eat sushi made by a sushi chef.
Well, I may have to agree on that one, but then machines are much faster than the human hand. But on the other hand, there are areas in which the human hand excels, and like you said, sushi is considered to be one of them, along with other foods requiring chefs to go through years of specialized training. And another area, which would be making malt for sake, since it requires delicate control of temperature and humidity. But certain jobs are still done by humans, even if machines exist for it.
Well, that's it for this edition of Channel Japan. We have much more for you next week, so make sure you tune in.
Mitsubishi Electric is helping to change the environment for the better around the world.
Green subway systems in India.
Green air conditioning systems in Singapore.
Echo changes for a greener tomorrow. Mitsubishi Electric.
Changing emissions from copper refineries into fertilizer. That is where Sumitomo Chemical got its start. For 100 years, we've been delivering the power of chemistry around the world. And we will continue to help make the world a better place for the next 100 years and more.
Mitsui & Company. Channel Japan. Your source for the voices and views of people and businesses across Japan. The latest reports on Japanese companies, culture, and technology. Find out what's happening on the ground. Every week, direct from Tokyo, Channel Japan.